What's up guys, DuArktik here with another Marvel Strike Force video, and in this video we're back to talk about the MERCS for Mana team. We're going to take a look at the infographic and break down all the information that you need to know in order for you to play with this team at the maximum level without breaking the bank. So we're going to be talking about T4s, ISO8, the best position of these characters. We're also going to talk about some tips and tricks that you can use in different game modes like Cosmic Crucible, and see overall which are the best game modes for each of these characters. As always, this information will be available on my Discord. The link for my Discord is in the description of the video, so you can join and get access to this information for free. Okay, so with that said, as always, if you like the information on these videos, make sure you share it with your friends on Facebook and Discord. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe for more Marvel Strike Force content, and make sure you smash that like button like a boss. Okay, so who's an absolute boss is the MERCS for Mana team. This team is very powerful, and the best use for them right now is in Alliance Wars on offense, on defense, but they can get a lot of value outside of that game mode as well. We're gonna break down all that information, but for now let's take a look at my infographic. Once again, this is going to be available on my Discord for free if you want to check it out. And on the left side we have the T4s of the characters. The higher the level, the more important it is for your character. If it is orange, the T4 applies for all game modes. If it has some other color, it means it has additional value in other game modes. Purple, Cosmic Crucible; red, Alliance Wars; green, Raids. Then we have the ISO8. Depending if you are using these characters on defense or on offense, you might prefer a different type of ISO8. And then we have the unique that you need to get up these characters, and then we have the red stars, which is sort of the gear priority, right? Something like that. At the bottom we have the best position for this team. This applies for most cases when these characters are together. And then we have the best game modes for each of these characters individually. Okay, so with that said, let's take a look at the T4s, and we're gonna start off with the Pandapool. Pandapool is sort of an interesting character. You can play it in many different ways when it comes to ISO8 and T4s, and we're gonna start off right away with the basic. So Pandapool, he assists all the time. You might want to give more value to his basic because of that, because he assists all the time, but it's up to you to decide. It's not a huge difference. As he's a protector, he does okay. Once again, the assist is based on other characters taking action, and depending on which characters you have on the team, or if you have the full team or not, this C4 might have lower value. So in my opinion, this is something that yes, you can do, but it's not like mandatory by any means, but it has some value on the basic. You are increasing the bleed damage and also the assist, and you can assist quite often. Then in terms of the special, it does a little bit more damage to primary target and adjacent targets. This is a turn 2 ability. It has additional healing that you get from this character. It's not a big deal T4, so I would skip this one as well. And then we have the ultimate. The ultimate is going to increase the health that you steal from the enemies by 15%. This can have some benefits in other game modes like Dark Dimension, or if you are using these characters against massive enemies that you face with a lot of yellow stars, red stars and diamonds. And on top of that is also going to apply Safeguard for 2 turns for self and all MERCS for Mana. Every time you have any ability that applies Safeguard is going to be very important, and Safeguard for 2 turns is definitely important, but remember that this is for Alliance Wars only. So if I'm not going to use these characters on Alliance Wars, maybe you could skip, but I would definitely do this T4 on Pandapool. Finally, we have his passive. Once again, we have another ability that is for Alliance Wars only. It works on defense, it works on offense. If his character is above 50% health, stun and disrupt cannot be applied to this character. And on top of that, the speed bar cannot be reduced. So this is gonna stop characters like Icarus from rewinding this guy. Okay, so in conclusion, Pandapool, you want to do the passive, you want to do the ultimate. The basic is optional, but I would definitely skip the special. Moving on, we're gonna talk about Deathpool. And the Deathpool not only is part of the MERCS for Money, but she's also part of the New Warriors, which is a Cosmic Crucible team. And you can pair up some MERCS for Money together with Deathpool if you want to increase her value, especially the Deathpool, the guy, the father. Okay, now in terms of the basic for her, she's going to increase the chance of flipping stealth and speed up on the basic. You actually don't use the basic often enough, and the characters that have speed up or stealth, it's not something that we face often with Deathpool, so you could definitely skip her basic. In terms of the special, she's going to transfer all the negative effects on herself to the enemies and then spread those negative effects. This is an okay ability, and if you feel like you face a lot of characters that apply negative effects to you and then you can spread, you can do this T4. Usually this ability, use it early on in the match while you don't have negative effects, so this might be another T4 that you can skip, because once again, when you use this ability, you just don't have enough negative effects on yourself in order for you to throw towards the enemies. So based on the situation, it's just something that you can skip as well. The ultimate T4 is going to apply additional bleeds to the primary target whenever you use it. It has a very low cooldown, but let's be honest, Deathpool does not need this damage. So this is another T4 that you can actually skip it, because it's pretty much pointless, as the charge of the effect is the ability that matters for Deathpool. And then we have her passive. If you do T4 on her passive, you're gonna be able to do more damage whenever an enemy dies. Once again, this happens on only specific situations, or if you are facing a lot of minions or summons, or if you can nuke the enemies very fast. 60% damage on the passive is not a meaningful amount of damage, so this is another T4 that you could skip. So which T4s would I do for Deathpool? Maybe the basic, maybe the special, but the other two you can definitely skip. But overall, you could skip all T4s for her. Now, let's talk about Deadpool. Basic attack, it's very rare for you to use his basic, and even if you do, it's not super important, it's something you can skip. The amount of damage increase is pretty much meaningless, so skip the basic. Now, in terms of the special, I would also say to skip the special, even that it does 60% more piercing damage, and that's not a lot. If you kill any enemies with Deathpool, is going to provide energy to other characters like old Man Logan. And because the multiplier is okay-ish, not the best, not the worst, but it's piercing damage, then this means that you are almost guaranteeing that you're gonna give energy to those other characters. So it's not like must-have character, but if you have like a lot of T4s and if you have a lot of diamonds or so on your Deadpool, this is something that could give you a little bit additional value. Now, in terms of the ultimate, this is probably the best ability of Deadpool. He attacks multiple targets, rebounds chains up to 7 times, and every time he's going to apply 2 bleeds. The more T4s that you have on the ability, the more bleed damage you are going to be able to apply to your enemies. So every time you have an ability that applies a lot of bleeds, you kind of want to do the T4s to increase the damage of those bleeds. In terms of the passive, we have that is going to heal for a little bit more, and then heals again for each negative effect that he has on himself. Plus, it guarantees that you get energy whenever you kill an enemy. This energy is going to be provided to Cable and to Old Man Logan, so if you are using Deathpool together with those characters, this is definitely the ability that you want to consider. So, in conclusion, for Deadpool, you want to do his ultimate, and you also want to do his passive, and I would skip the special and the basic. Now we are going to talk about Daken, and Daken is one of the more important characters on this team because of his abilities to counter characters that gain stealth like Super Scroll. Now with this basic, he's going to flip stealth, you're going to increase the damage, it doesn't apply bleeds, he's not going to use the Striker Eyes Await, so the basic is definitely you can skip right away. Then we have the special has a decent cooldown, it applies piercing damage. It does bonus attacks against the stealth characters, applies heal block, applies trauma, so this is a must-have T4. In Alliance Wars it also does additional things against support characters, so it even increases more the value on this T4. So this is an absolute must-have for Daken. In terms of the ultimate, it's going to attack the primary target and the adjacent target multiple times, and each of these times is going to apply bleeds to those characters. And when you do this T4, on top of attacking multiple times, you're also going to turn rewind the enemies, and yes, they are going to be rewinded multiple times as well for each of the attacks. So because we have additional damage, because we have turn rewind, this is definitely a T4 that you want to do. Is it must have by any means? Depends of the situation, right? Whenever we have turn rewind, it depends if we need it or not. Usually yes, so this is definitely something that it's not absolute must have, but is highly recommended. Then we have the passive for Daken, and the passive for Daken gives him crit chance, and the crit chance is going to convert into stealth, and whenever he crits, he gains stealth. If he has stealth, he's going to have more crit chance and more crit damage. And whenever the enemies gain stealth, is going to fill the speed bar of this character by 60%. This is absolutely massive, and against characters that gain stealth, whether it is New Avengers, Darkhold, Super Skrull, or any other character that gains stealth right now or in the future, is going to get that 60% speed bar, and this is absolute must have, and this is why this character has so much value. Okay, so in conclusion, for Daken, in my opinion, you should do the special, the ultimate, and the passive, but the priorities are going to be the special and the passive, and the absolute skip the basic. Now, we have Old Man Logan, and for Old Man Logan, it's going to be very, very easy. Do all the T4s, is a legendary character, is absolute must-have in all game modes, so there is nothing to lose. But if you want to know why, well, the basic is going to assist all the time, and he has drain. So more drain, more damage, you always want to do that, and once again, he's going to be assisting all the time, so that increases the value of the damage and of the drain as well. The special is going to give revive once to himself, and is also going to flip positive effects into negative effects on the enemies. He's also going to do more damage to the primary target and the adjacent targets. He's going to apply bleeds. The bleeds he applies is going to increase value as well, because you are doing the T4, so a very nice T4 for sure. Then we have the ultimate. Is going to apply disrupt and trauma to all enemies. He's going to apply piercing damage, and of course because of this is a must-have T4. And then we have the passive. Chargeable enemies with the highest damage cannot gain charge before this character takes a turn, and this means like characters like Apocalypse or Black Knight, they cannot gain their charges until Logan has his first turn, and that means that Logan can stun them before they gain those charges, so it's amazing. And on top of that, you get the 80% chance of assist, and whenever Logan assists, he gains drain, he does piercing damage, I'm not sure if he does piercing damage, but he applies disrupt, he applies bleeds, all kinds of things. Like, just do all the T4s for Old Man Logan, because they are all very, very good. Now, if you want the priority, probably do the ultimate first, then the special to get the revive, then the passive, and then the basic. But once again, all of the T4s are very good for this character. Okay, now that we cover all the T4s, let's talk about ISO 8. And for Old Man Logan, you want to use him as a striker or as a skirmisher, depending if you need someone to apply vulnerabilities to the enemy team or not. So it's really going to matter depending on the usage, depending if you are using him on his own team or if you are using him together with other characters, for example in Arena. But those are going to be the two main priorities. Most of the time striker and sometimes skirmisher. In terms of Daken, in my opinion, the only ISO 8 that matters for him is Raider. He doesn't have a good basic, he applies bleeds, but it's not like a huge amount of bleeds, and he has bonus for a crit chance and crit damage, so Raider is absolute must-have option. In terms of Deadpool, he has bonus for crit and for a crit chance and for crit damage, not only on the MERCS for money, but also with his ultimate, the X-Force, so maybe this is something that you want to maximize. The striker has a weight, yes, he applies a ton of bleeds with the ultimate, but the basic attack is very weak, so I would rather focus on the Raider rather than on the Striker, because those additional attacks that he does with the Raider might kill someone, and then that gives the energy from his passive. So in my opinion, that should be the priority. Now in terms of Deathpool, in my opinion, most of the time she uses the Skirmisher ISO 8, because once again, the damage that Deathpool does is not relevant. All that matters is her special and her ultimate at 5 charges, and at 5 charges is it does like infinite damage, so it doesn't matter the Striker ISO 8 or Raider ISO 8 for her. And you can also use her as a fortifier. Why would you want this character as a fortifier? Because if she is alive, that means Deadpool and the other characters are going to be able to revive, and the longer she stays alive, the better. And once again, the damage that she does to the enemy team is not important, so all that really matters is for her to stay alive. So Fortifier could be an option if you have her on defense. And finally we have Pandapool. Pandapool, you could use him as a striker and Old Man Logan as a skirmisher, or you can do the opposite. You can use Pandapool as a skirmisher and use Old Man Logan as a striker. Some people would also use Fortifier on Pandapool. I'm not sure if that's really necessary. If you really want to increase the drain of him, sure, but the problem is that he's kind of slow, and because he's slow, that means he's not going to benefit as much from the extra drain and barrier. It's okay to have, but it's okay recommendation, I guess. If you are not using him as a skirmisher, if you have Old Man Logan as a skirmisher, then yeah, sure, you could use Pandapool as a fortifier for the extra drain. Now you can see the uniques right here. Right now we don't have a lot of characters that require these uniques, so you should be able to get up this team fine. Of course you want to maximize Old Man Logan because he's the legendary character and because he's the most powerful character on this team, but then you should definitely consider to get up Deathpool first and Daken as well, because they are the characters that have the most value outside of this team, whether it is with the new Warriors, where it is on hybrid teams in Cosmic Crucible. Those are going to be the two characters that you should prioritize. After that, you have Deathpool and Pandapool. Those characters are the characters that benefit from the gear, sure, but it's definitely not a priority as they are very slow and they bring very little to the table for this team. Based on that, the best position for these characters is going to be Pandapool on the far left and Deathpool on the far right. This is very important if you want to maximize the amount of drain these characters have. If you don't have on this exact position, the amount of drain that they get is going to be a lot smaller, so keep this in mind. After that, you want to make sure that Old Man Logan is next to Pandapool, because every time he gets attacked, he's going to get a speed bar. Deathpool, you can keep him in the middle, because if he dies, he's gonna revive. It's not a big deal. If he's slowed, it doesn't really matter. He's pretty much nothing on this team, let's be honest. He's just way too slow. And Daken, he has to be on the second to the right, because it's as far as we can get him from the tank without compromising the amount of drain from Deathpool. So it's just the best place for convenience. But in my opinion, this is the absolute best position if you want to maximize the speed of Old Man Logan, the amount of drain that your characters get, and also keep safe the Deathpool and the Daken, that are characters that the longer they live, the better it is for you because of their ultimate abilities and bonus effects. Now, in terms of the game modes, these characters are going to be fine in Blitz. They are actually not that good in Blitz on their own unless you have Old Man Logan, so be careful with that. You have to make sure that these Blitz teams are well balanced, otherwise they are not going to work very well. In Arena, none of these characters have value except Old Man Logan. As you guys can see, like, Old Man Logan is absolute must-have in all game modes. Even in raids, yes, even in raids, together with Extreme X-Men is a better option than a Cyclops, so keep that in mind. Deathpool can also be used with Bifrost or with any kind of Mystic team, because she provides speed bar and drain to Mystic characters in raids as well. In Dark Dimension, all of these characters are kind of garbage except Old Man Logan for the legendary section. Daken is okay because it's nice to have extra gear on him, not because he brings a lot to the table, just because it's nice to have him with a higher gear. And the same goes for Deadpool. It's not like she's amazing, it's just because having her bigger than the other characters is somewhat nice, and you could justify taking them to Dark Dimension. In terms of Alliance Wars, of course, this is a amazing team, must-have team, the Apex Alliance Wars team right now. In terms of Avengers Tower, of course, once again, the best character is going to be Old Man Logan. Daken and Deathpool, they have a little bit value, but not a lot, and the same goes for Pandapool. Unfortunately, Deadpool here, once again, is still a trash character. And then we have Cosmic Crucible, where some of these characters will have additional value with Deadpool and the New Warriors. Then we have Daken, can be together with Super Scroll on offense, if you want. Deadpool can also be used with the New Warriors instead of Dagger, but this depends on the matches that you are facing, and if you want to speed up the charges on Deathpool to do that ultimate attack to a massive enemy that you can face, maybe a gigantic Black Knight or something like that. And Pandapool and Old Man Logan, in different teams they can be okay, but Old Man Logan, wherever you put him, is going to be amazing. But this is the information that you need to know in order for you to use the MERCS for money. You can, once again, you can use Daken together with different characters as long as the enemies will gain stealth, and you can also use him as the villain that you want to use together with Super Scroll. Once again, Deathpool and Deadpool, you can use them together on the New Warriors, and Old Man Logan, you can use him with any kind of X-Men team, and he's going to get most of the benefits of being together with those guys as well. And Pandapool, use him together with other guys, it doesn't really matter too much outside of Alliance Wars. So yeah guys, that's going to be all the information that you need to know in order for you to gear up your MERCS for money and get the most value out of them in Alliance Wars and also outside of Alliance Wars. This team is quite fun to play with, and they have a decent amount of plug and play value and theory crafting value for you to use on different game modes. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to smash that like button, and if you found the video helpful, make sure to share it with your friends on Facebook and Discord. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe for more Mouse Strike Force content, and I will catch you guys later.